let's dive into the segment with our top focus on the violent protests that have swept France. Violence continues to simmer in French cities after police shot dead a 17-year-old teenager of Algerian and Moroccan descent. Now, the French government was set to examine all options for restoring order on Friday after nationwide unrest escalated overnight into the most destructive rioting since police shot and killed the teenager at a traffic stop. Hundreds of police were injured and hundreds of people have been arrested as rioters clash with officers in towns and cities across France. Several buildings and vehicles have also been torched. In the meantime, President Emmanuel Macron was en route to Paris from Brussels after leaving a European Union summit earlier, so he could attend a second cabinet crisis meeting convened in 2 days. Let's listen in to what the president has to say.
There
is an unacceptable instrumentalization of the death of a teenager, which we all deplore. But this time should be about contemplation and respect. In the face of this, I formally condemn those who are using this situation and this time to try and create disorder and target our institutions. The responsibility they bear is damning, and I firmly condemn, we all do, this pure and unjustifiable violence that has no legitimacy.
Ces violences pures et injustifiables qui n'ont aucune légitimité.
Violence swept across major French cities a third night in a row after police shot dead a 17-year-old who has only been named as Nahel M, a teenager of Algerian and Moroccan descent. Media reports citing French officials say hundreds of people were arrested. Rioters put up barricades in Nanterre, the working-class town outside Paris, where Nahel was shot dead on Tuesday. Their advance towards police lines under a hail of fireworks was stopped as police fired round after round of tear gas. In their anger, rioters set fire to cars and large swathes of fencing. Police, seen making their push into Nanterre, ran past graffiti left by the rioters, saying, "Nahel, we love you," and below that, obscenities leveled at the authorities. Police say the teenager fled a traffic check in an incident caught on smartphone camera and shared on social media. The officer who fired the fatal shot at close range is being investigated for voluntary homicide and remains detained. The teenager's death has fed complaints of systemic racism and police violence, which the force denies. 40,000 officers were said to have deployed across France on Thursday, nearly 4 times the number the day before. But there are few signs that government appeals to de-escalate the violence, including from French leader Emmanuel Macron, would quell the widespread anger. Local authorities in Clamart, 5 miles from central Paris, imposed a nighttime curfew until Monday. Police also reported incidents linked to fires and fireworks in Marseille, Lyon, Pau, Toulouse, and Lille. Clips shared to social media on Thursday also showed rioters in central Paris attempting to loot a Nike sportswear shop.
Riots are spreading across France after police shot dead a teenager of North African descent at a traffic stop outside Paris. Let's take a look at the controversial powers given to the French police. The 17-year-old who died has been identified only as Nahel. Prosecutors say he failed to comply with an order to stop his car. A video on social media, verified by Reuters, shows a police officer firing a shot as the driver pulls away. That officer is currently under investigation for voluntary homicide. Nahel died from a single shot through his left arm and chest. The use of lethal force against a teenager who was of North African origin has ignited anger over police tactics in ethnically diverse neighborhoods. So how common is it for French police to use firearms during traffic stops? The Highway Code says that a driver can be stopped by police to have his driving documents checked at any time without any visible violation of the law. Since 2017, French law has allowed police to use their firearms in 5 different scenarios, including when they're unable to stop a vehicle whose driver has ignored an order to stop and whose occupants are likely to pose a risk to their life or physical safety or to other people's. Rights groups have criticized the 2017 law, saying it dangerously broadened the legal framework for when an officer can use their firearm. The recent lethal shooting was the third of its kind in 2023. That's down from a record 13 people who were killed after not complying with a traffic stop in 2022, a police spokesperson said. A Reuters tally shows the majority of victims since 2017 were black or of Arab origin.
All right, let's try and get in a sense of perspective and in terms of what's happening on ground zero. I'm joined in by Manu Vishal from Paris. Manu, thank you for joining in. Let's talk about the fact that France is not new to protests. In fact, we've seen some recently as fresh as those protests that took place during the pension reforms. What's different this time around?
This time, actually, it's much more violent. But during the pension reforms, yeah, there were a lot of protests, but it hadn't turned this violent, and it was mostly about strikes, public transport strikes, and a lot of services going on strikes, like the waste disposal services were completely shut off.
Apart from racial discrimination, Manu, this wave of protests have also been sparked by police brutality, something that's been on the rise in France and has even been condemned at the UN. Take us through why the issue of police brutality is becoming a massive concern for France.
As far as I know, the brutality of police have not had many first-hand or even second-hand accounts of it. Even from third parties, I've not heard much. This is the first time I'm seeing something like this happening, and the video is circulating around social media. That's also a reason where this incident happened. It has been captured on video, so that's also one of the reasons why this is raging. This has caused a lot of rage in the people.
All right. Many thanks to you, Manu Vishal, for bringing in those details from France.